Let me describe a situation that's probably happened to you or someone you know. You're driving to work, maybe already running 10 minutes behind, when suddenly, the check engine light comes on. Your heart sinks. You know if you handle this today, it's probably a $250 repair. But you glance at your bank app and there's $67 sitting there until next Wednesday. So what do? You turn up your playlist to drown out that strange clicking noise and cross your fingers. 2.5 months later, that $250 problem you couldn't tackle? It's now a complete breakdown, and would now be towed by a truck at $175 to a parking lot. But here's the devastating part, that minor failing component has now wrecked your engine's cooling system, so the cost of repair is now $1,800. And because you're without transportation, you miss 3 workdays and lose $420 in wages. That initial $250 you didn't have has exploded into a $2,395 disaster. This isn't coincidence or bad luck. This is a systematic economic penalty, a very tangible, very calculable tax on having insufficient funds. I'm Alex, and I'm somewhat obsessed with exposing the hidden mathematics of money and the invisible algorithms that keep people financially stuck. If you've ever felt like you're grinding harder every month but your account balance stays flat, or if you know that one bad Wednesday could torpedo your entire financial year, hit that subscribe button and like this video if it helps you. Today we're not exploring NFTs or day trading or get-rich-quick schemes. We're dissecting something far more fundamental and honestly more dangerous: why being financially strapped is actually the most expensive position you can occupy. Here's what traditional financial influencers get totally wrong. They present wealth as purely a willpower issue and poverty as a personal failure. You'll hear things like skip your morning coffee or cancel those subscriptions as if saving $15 monthly is some revolutionary financial pivot. But this completely ignores a fundamental economic reality called the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. This idea originates from Sam Vims, a character in Terry Pratchett's writing, and frankly, it explains economic inequality better than most PhDs in economics. Here's the framework. Picture 2 individuals. One is financially secure, the other is struggling. The secure person purchases quality boots for $65, real leather, solid construction. Those boots last him 12 years. The struggling person can't manage $65. He's got $10, so he buys whatever bargain boots that gets him. But those boots fall apart within 8 months. Next year, he drops another $10. The following year, same cycle. Over that same 12-year period, the struggling person has spent $144 on footwear, more than double what the secure person spent, and his feet are still getting wet. Meanwhile, the other person is comfortable, dry, and effectively $79 ahead. This is the arithmetic of financial scarcity. When you lack upfront capital, you're forced to pay a premium over the long term. You might be thinking, okay, that's an interesting analogy, Alex, but how does this impact my actual daily life in 2026? The answer is, it's everywhere. Consider something as basic as household products. Sounds insignificant, but stay with me. When you've got $60 of disposable income, you go to the warehouse store. You purchase the massive bulk pack of paper towels where each roll costs roughly 62 cents. You're set for 4 months. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have $60 to allocate to paper products. You've got maybe $5. So you hit the drugstore and grab the small pack where each roll runs you $1.75. You're paying nearly triple for the exact same thing purely because you couldn't afford the volume pricing. This is what researchers call the poverty premium. It extends to everything from peanut butter to dish soap to baby formula, especially baby formula. Basically every shelf-stable product in your household. The brutal mathematics here is that when you're broke, you experience functionally higher inflation than someone with resources because you're constantly locked out of bulk savings. But it escalates to something far more exploitative when we examine the banking infrastructure. This genuinely makes me angry because the system actively penalizes financial instability. When you keep $12,000 in your checking account, banks roll out the red carpet. No monthly charges, free services, maybe even minimal interest. But imagine you're struggling with $28 in your account. A subscription you forgot about hits for $34. You're now negative $6. Does the bank say, "Tough month, we'll give you a pass"? Not a chance. They hit you with a $38 overdraft fee. Calculate the effective interest rate on that. You basically borrowed $6 for one day at a cost of $38. That's a 633% annual percentage rate. If an underground lender did this, they'd face prosecution. When a bank does it, it's business as usual. Last year, financial institutions raked in billions from overdraft fees, predominantly from people with under $800 to their names. People with capital earn interest. People without capital pay interest. It's systematic wealth transfer from the bottom upward, packaged as service charges. Now, I anticipate the pushback. Just manage your money better. And on paper, yeah, that makes sense. But there's a significant psychological dimension we can't ignore. There's scientific research on what's called scarcity mindset. Studies show that when you're legitimately anxious about money, when you're unsure how this month's utilities get paid, your functional IQ temporarily decreases by approximately 14 points. That's equivalent to pulling an all-nighter. Your cognitive resources are so overwhelmed with immediate survival that your ability for long-term planning physically diminishes. This explains why financially struggling people sometimes make choices that appear illogical to observers. They accept payday loans with 380% interest. They play the lottery. They grab fast food instead of cooking. It's not ignorance, it's mental bandwidth completely saturated just handling today. The boots theory isn't only about financial mathematics. It's about cognitive energy mathematics. The person with quality boots doesn't just save $79. They save 12 years of footwear anxiety, liberating mental space for learning, investing, creating. The struggling person is stuck in perpetual low-grade panic mode. Let's expand from boots to something larger: vehicles. In the United States, unless you're in perhaps 4 cities, you need a car for work. Someone with financial stability purchases a 4-year-old reliable vehicle, Mazda, Subaru, for approximately $18,500. They pay cash or get low-interest financing at maybe 4.2%. That vehicle runs 12 years with standard maintenance. Total ownership cost remains manageable. Now look at someone with poor credit and no down payment. They need transportation to access the job that provides income. They wind up at a sketchy buy here pay here dealership. The lot sells them a high-mileage vehicle actually worth perhaps $3,500, but they price it at $7,200. Due to damaged credit, the interest rate climbs to 26%. Calculate across that loan's duration, they'll pay $13,800 for a vehicle valued at $3,500. The devastating part? The car will probably die before the loan finishes. So they're still making payments on a non-functional vehicle while desperately trying to finance another. This is the poverty trap in high definition. You're not just paying for a car, you're paying a risk surcharge because the system has classified you as high risk. The only way to shed that risky label is having money, which you can't save because you're paying the risk surcharge. It's a mechanism designed to keep you exactly where you are. We haven't even addressed housing. Renting versus owning is maybe the clearest boots theory example. When you rent, you're paying 100% interest with zero equity building. You're covering your landlord's mortgage plus their profit. But to buy property, you need a down payment. $12,000, maybe $18,000. If you're spending 48% of your income on rent because housing costs are sky high, that down payment becomes mathematically impossible. You're trapped paying $1,850 monthly for housing that would cost $1,150 if you owned it. The person with capital purchases property, lowers their monthly burden, and owns an appreciating asset. The person without capital pays more monthly for something they'll never possess. Being poor is expensive because you're basically renting your entire life. You rent housing. You rent money through interest charges. You rent security. Here's where it becomes particularly cruel: there's an invisible tax on your time. Think about laundry. With your own washer and dryer, laundry takes maybe 6 minutes of hands-on work. Load it, walk away. But if you're reliant on a laundromat, it costs $6.50 in quarters plus 2.5 hours of your existence. Travel there, wait around, travel back. That's 2.5 hours unavailable for earning, resting, or being with loved ones. If you value your time at even $12 hourly, that laundry becomes ridiculously expensive. Or think about food deserts. In economically depressed neighborhoods, you might not have access to major supermarkets with fair pricing. You have convenience stores with markup. Getting to a real grocery store might mean bus fare plus 90 minutes of travel time. The resistance of daily living increases when you lack resources. Everything becomes more difficult. Everything consumes more time. And time, fundamentally, is money. By consuming your time, poverty consumes future earning capacity. Now, I hear the counterargument forming: Alex, this is bleak. You're telling me the game is rigged and I'm stuck because I can't afford the good boots. And yes, it is bleak. But comprehending these mechanics is the only route to escaping the equation. Most people dodge this reality because it hurts. But you must study the numbers to locate your exit. Conventional financial wisdom says invest for 7% market returns. But when you're financially struggling, your optimal investment isn't index funds. It's eliminating these boots theory penalties. If you're carrying credit card debt at 22% interest, eliminating that is a guaranteed 22% return. No portfolio manager on earth can promise that. If you buy a dependable rice cooker for $45 instead of replacing the $11 version every year, that's legitimate return on investment. The first step out of this trap isn't pursuing wealth. It's stopping the bleeding. This introduces the most vital concept, the cushion. The only way to break the cheap boots cycle is deliberately creating a period where you buy no boots whatsoever so you can save for quality ones. This is why that initial emergency reserve, that first $1,200, isn't just standard guidance. It's the tool that dismantles the poverty premium. When you have $1,200 in reserve, a car battery dying becomes a hassle rather than a catastrophe forcing you into predatory lending. That $1,200 lets you raise insurance deductibles, which decreases monthly premiums. Notice that? Having saved money actually lowered your monthly costs. That $1,200 enables bulk buying. It allows addressing small problems before they become expensive disasters. That first chunk of liquidity is the hardest money you'll ever accumulate, but it's also the most transformative. It converts the game from defensive to offensive. You must reframe spending not merely as purchases but as permanently eliminating problems. When you finally have some savings, the urge is treating yourself after extended sacrifice. That's the psychological snare. You buy a nice dinner or new shoes because you want to feel normal momentarily. But if you take that money and buy quality work shoes, dependable brakes, or the dental cleaning before the cavity needs a crown, you're effectively buying future freedom. You're eliminating the poverty tax so you never pay it again. This demands shifting from "can I swing the monthly payment" to "what's the complete ownership cost?" Car dealers want you obsessing over monthly payments because that camouflages true expense. You need to focus on total lifetime value. Here's what most people miss: the system runs on your ignorance of these mechanics. Corporations factor in your late fees. They anticipate your overdrafts. They count on you buying disposable products repeatedly instead of the durable version that lasts years. When you start making boots theory-informed decisions, you become a money-losing customer for them but an exceptional financial manager for yourself. You need to get furious at this mathematics. Channel that anger. Every penalty fee, every convenience charge, let that rage drive building your cushion. You're battling against designed obsolescence, and your weapon is liquidity. So what's the concrete step? It's not exciting. It's not buy meme stocks. It's this: audit your existence for bleeding costs caused by lacking capital. Pinpoint where you're losing money purely because you don't have money. Paying FHA mortgage insurance? Excessive car loan interest? Buying individual rolls of aluminum foil? Identify your biggest financial leak. Then ruthlessly cut everything else, and I mean everything, until you have funds to seal that specific leak. If you need $380 for car maintenance to stop the oil leak, doing weekend gig work isn't just earning side money. It's a tactical strike against future catastrophic expense. You're buying your exit from the trap one quality purchase at a time. This journey is inequitable. I won't pretend the playing field is even. Climbing from $0 to $8,000 demands 10 times the effort of advancing from $8,000 to $80,000. The headwinds are brutal at the beginning. But once you grasp that financial scarcity is a structured penalty system, you can stop blaming yourself for being financially irresponsible and start systematically attacking the penalties. You stop playing their game and start playing yours. You buy the boots that endure. You buy the power to refuse exploitative loans. Eventually, you climb completely out of the pit. If this video resonated, if you realized you've been unknowingly paying the poverty premium, share this with someone who needs this perspective. We don't talk about this nearly enough. We highlight success stories but rarely dissect the traps. Subscribe because we're continuing to break down these obscured financial realities until everyone understands how to get those quality boots. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.